Hello, welcome back to the shop. Today, we got something exciting going. We have Plato versus Hongway. So we got a battle royale here of the cheapest. Now the Hongway costs a third less than Plato. Plato being just about $10. The Hongway being $3. Let's start comparing these things to see what we get. If we take a look at the handles, the Plato has a slightly rubberized handle. It's not really squishy or anything, but it is slightly rubberized. Hongway, a less rubberized handle. It's got a tiny bit of finger drag if you get into it, but it's very much more plasticky. The Hongway, to its credit, because it's so sharp, it has this plastic cover. They really don't want you hurting yourself. Taking a look at them closer here now. The hinge is largely identical between the two. It's just a driven pin. You can see that. It's a pin that's driven through. The spring, also very similar. Very much so. The grind quality is from here very much similar. Length is the same. I can drop both about equally. The cutter surface is loosely the same. The operation is they're about equally as smooth. So that's not too bad. Let's get them under the microscope. Compare what they look like. Get them backlit. Do our vice test. Compare the cutoffs and see what they weigh. Okay, so we got our microscope fired up. Let's get into it. So let's just get right into the Hongway. And right off the bat, from this side, it looks like we got some marking here. Some dirt. Let's see if we can clear that off a little bit. Some dirt in there. It's well lubricated. You can see the oil and everything in there. You got that little ball in there. That's pressed in, I believe, as a stop. These are just stamped out. They're inexpensive tools. Nothing overly complex. But you can see how the cutter is just like nipped across the grinder. It's flush. I'll give it that. You can see that. That's a two-sided cutter. Not an anvil or anything. It'll be cutting from both ways in. Very simple tool. I mean, for the money, this thing's like $3. I don't really have super high expectations. There we got a better look at her spring. There we go. Not bad. I mean, honestly, for $3, you can't complain too much. Let's take a look at Plato. A little bit higher in the price point. Let's try and get some of that. So you can see already on the left tip, you have a burr that remains from the manufacturing process. The QC guy is not on top of everything there. Also very well lubricated. Now this, you can see has, oh, they both do. So that little piece sticking off for the stop is right there, that indent. There's your spring. And I did miss that. The Hongway is not pressed in. That is punched in. Right there. So that's okay. Perfectly acceptable. It works. So let's take a look at the cutting surface here. Looks a little bit more crude than the Hongway, doesn't it? Looks like it's kind of indented. Boy, that's hard to get in an angle. but it doesn't look as refined. It's too kind of splashed across the grinder, but you can see along this one edge here, right here, it's not consistent. So there's our rivet, spring, we looked at that. Here's our stopper, very simple. There's our cutter, let's take a look at that. See what our grind looks like. I think this is going to be the same. Just a two-sided grind, yep, it's looking that way. A little hard to get in, yep, there we go. A little hard to get in and see it because I can't open them real far, but you get the idea. There's that that burr at the top there. So, I mean, these aren't really a high price point tool either. They're not bad, but they're not great. So, let's get our backlight in and see what we can see. The backlight here being a handy dandy custom made tool we did here in the shop. Here's Hongway. See that? You can see one side is definitely bigger than the other. See how that is ground? That's very interesting, but closes at the tip and only for a little there. It does not look like it's cutting all the way through. Let's look at it from this side. Looks a little better from this side. I can't see as much light through. Not too bad. Let's check out Plato. Now Plato does appear to have a little bit more grinding work, doesn't it? Closes up. The tip's got some holes in it. If I squeeze it a little harder, they do go away. But just relaxed, has some holes through. It's more symmetrical than Hongway was. And then here is the tip again, you see that? But not bad. I mean, it closes, honestly, these cheapies are closing better than, oh, which one was it? I forget, was it Crescent? Was it the Crescent one? Yeah, it was the Crescent. Look at that. There's the Crescent. Crescent one is one of our previous Showdowns, Crescent. Side note, Crescent and Weller are the same company. The Weller being USA made, and the Crescent I think was in Vietnam, but I don't recall. Anyway, since we've seen this, let's go over to the vise and see how much force they take to operate. Here's one last look. Hongway, definitely not a symmetrical plier. And the Plato here on the right is. Okay, so we'll keep in our fashion here of keeping the Hongway first. I think we're just seeing the spring tension here. I think that's all we're seeing. I'm holding the tie wrap as close as I can to the cutting surface. So let's just start applying some pressure here. And I will try, and it does want to stay on its own. Just try and steadily crank this. 1.3. 1.5. That's just about through. 2.5, 2.6. Climbing here at the end. 3.3. 4. Come on. 5. 6. It's through. Wow, that hole took some So I'm doing, let's see what Plato does. So we'll do the same thing here. Oh, got to back up a little bit more. Plato is in. We will do the same thing. Crank this. I have it about in as far as I can on the cutter. Both of these have an empty void towards the rivet joint. Okay, here we go. I'm going to try and turn this about the same speed we did before. 1.5, 2, 2.3-ish. You can see it kind of yielding as we go in. Like we're cutting in and it's just taking, there we go. About 2.8, I'd say. Might rerun the Hongway. This is more what I would have expected to see. Let's redo the Hongway and see what we get. I don't, maybe that just wasn't quite a fair representation. Normally these things go a certain way and I can kind of tell how it's doing. Okay, we got another tie wrap. Go in a little bit. Oh, too far, too far. Okay. And here we go. So we're holding our tie wrap vertically. It's like we did before with Plato. And let's see what we get. It's holding itself. 0.5, 2.0. Now we're seeing that yielding like we did before. 3. Yeah, I'm surprised. It's just bending it. Wow, that's taking a lot of force. 7.7. There we go. That just kind of rips through. And you can see we still have a lot of force on that. That really does not just go through. I actually tore that. So the Hongway is not all that sharp. Not all that surprising, I guess. So that we basically duplicated that test. It's just not a very good cutter. Let's go back and compare these underneath the microscope. Alright, so over back at the microscope. Let's check it out. We have 2 specimens from the Hongway and 1 from Plato. So let's check out what we got here. We'll just take a look at them kind of quick and then we'll compare both next to each other. So, over here on, let's get this a little bit better in focus. Okay, so looking at one from the Hongway, you can really see why it took so much force to get through there. Look at how dull that is. That is like ripped through. You can just see, let's see if I can point at that. You can just see right here how that's ripped through there. And there's just a little bit of remains there. Let's look at the other way. And here you can just see, look at how that's just ripped through. Remember how clean some of the cuts were with like icon and everything. That was really, really torn up. Let's look at another cut-off piece here. Our second Hongway. Second one, this might be our first cut with the Hongway. If you remember, the first cut wasn't. But look at all the white on that. That's shearing the plastic and not cutting it. Then you can see a massive dive off here at the tip here. See how ramped that is? It's excessively ramped. That is really, really a dull cut going through there. Let's take a look here. Look at how that's just grooved. You can see, well, that's partly the grooves that you see right there. But look at how ramped all that is. It's not a very good cut. Let's look at the Plato cut. Sounds like I'm saying Plato. No, Plato. Kind of similar. You got a bit of a ramp going on here too. See how that's rounded? It's not very crisp. It's not cutting in. There's our side profile. Take a look at our other piece here. It's not horrific. Really, it's not. We've seen worse. That's relatively straight there. That's not too bad. Now remember, when we do these, they're backwards. That's actually the cutoff piece. I realize we didn't look at the end profile of Hongway. That's just squeezed to a point. And for contrast, we'll take one of the other ones that we had cut off here. And let's just do a shortcut with the icon. Okay. And we'll compare and contrast what we see here. So on the left here is Hongway. On the right is the icon. Not even close. Not even close. Let's look at the back sides. Look at how crisp the icon is on the right compared to that. Just ripped through. So that's the difference. Super interesting on that. Hongway definitely loses this round, I would say. Okay, so for our last event, we're going to see what do they weigh. We're not going to have the protector on this sharp cutter on it. So it's going to have a little bit of a so 1.97 ounces. And for you guys in the rest of the world, that's 55.9 grams. And then 2.05 ounces. And that's 58 grams. 58.1, 58, 58 grams. So Plato's a little bit heavier, but Plato also cuts. Hongway, I would say it would cut things, but I don't know how consistently it would cut things. Struggling with just tie wraps, I realize that you may get to a shear point with copper if you're cutting, semiconductors and stuff like that. I don't want to, it's $3. Sometimes you need a sacrificial pair of flush cutters. That being said, this actually isn't the first Plato that I got. I had got one of these free years ago, and you can see this has been the sacrificial flush cutter, just to cut stuff, to booger it up. It's seen some things, and that's okay. I got it free. It came, and it wasn't all that sharp when I got it, so it's a sacrificial set of pliers. I'd say the two Platos between them, probably about similar. This one actually has nicer handle grips, but you can see they're a different color. But this is actually a little bit more rubbery than this. But other than that, they're largely the same thing. So for cheap ones, I think you can get these Platos in a multi-pack for around the same price as the Hongways. I just happened to find the single pack first, and I didn't need 30 Plato cutters or 10 or 5 or whatever it is. I'm going to have a ton of various flush cutters around anyway, so I didn't need to get a whole bunch, so we just went with the one. Between the two, if I want to cut a lot, I think I go with the Platos. Hongways for the money, $3. If you know you're just going to need a sacrificial set, maybe you go with that. It's not that bad of a price. So anyway, I hope this round 5 was interesting. Got a whole bunch of other ones that we went through already. If you want to see different matches from what we've already done, leave a comment. Maybe we can do that. I think there was some interest to see the difference between Weller and Crescent, because they're basically the same thing, but different. One's made here, one's not. And other than that, I think we wrapped this one up. So, as always, thanks for watching and have a great day.